Batman and Beyond?
Batman Beyond.
Ah.
Yeah, you did a couple episodes.
I did. I did a little. That was animated.
Yes.
Years ago. Yeah. But
Yes.
I even forgot that. So
No,
you reminded me.
The great Andrea Romano cast you. At least I assume she did, because she casts all the great actors in those roles. So that's what we call her, Saint Andrea, because of how much amazing work she's done. But
Nice.
but we're here to talk about you. So
Okay.
so first of all, hey, how you doing? How's the weekend been for you?
I'm good. We start off with a bang. Friday night was very crowded. It was very buzzing out there. This morning was slow, but you know what? When it's slower, I get to have conversations with some of the people that come up to my table. So if you haven't yet, come on up. I just enjoy meeting people. I really do. So it's been really great. Everyone's really nice. We had a tornado warning last night. I'm being laughed at in the hallway because I stayed in the hotel because I heard there was a tornado warning. And they were like, oh my God. That's Oklahoma, I know. I hear it's like drizzling. It's the same thing. It's
And again,
not a big deal.
I'm from Florida, so all you locals have been like, some of us have really said, oh, tornado, and so much of you locals have been like, it's part and parcel. That's the way we feel about hurricanes when it's like a Category 1. We just tell everybody that just means bring the patio furniture inside so it doesn't mess it up, you know. It's like we don't get nervous until the Waffle House closes. then we run to the bunkers, you know. So, but that's what we do. So what I love to do is when I have a solo guest like yourself, what's the origin story? What drove or compelled or pointed you towards becoming a performer?
Acting? You know, I believe there was no other option. I believe that I was born to do it. Ever since I was little, I was doing skits and, you know, rearranging the furniture and putting on, just making up skits as I went. When I was very young, and then when I was a little bit older, I got the neighborhood kids involved, and we would do things and perform for the parents. Then I did it in school, drama class, and then I went to I started out high school in California, and then when I was a sophomore, I went to Vermont, New England, which is literally across the country, and they didn't have a theater department. So I was like, okay, clearly you didn't hear I was coming because we need a theater department. And I asked my English teacher, I told her, I said, I can't stay here, as if I could have left. I can't stay here if you don't have a theater department, so we have to start a theater department. And she thought that was a good idea. So she and some other of the faculty agreed that they should start a theater department, and they got a theater teacher in there. And then lo and behold, there were some other kids there that wanted to participate. So we did plays, and I, that was just a really good lesson for me to remember when other things later in life were difficult or didn't exist. I just remembered that, wait a second, I was like 14 and got a theater department started. So that was just because I literally loved to do it so much, and I didn't know who I was if I wasn't acting, kind of thing. I did the sports, wasn't very good. I did
Me too.
I tried to do other things, but if you're meant to do it, you're meant to do it. And so I graduated from that high school, went out to UCLA to major in theater. I knew I wanted to be in LA or New York because that's where the opportunities were, and I went to Los Angeles. And once again, the thing is that there's a wonderful naivete. There's a wonderful power in being naive about something. I'm sure some of you know what I mean, if not all of you. If you don't know how something's supposed to go, you just kind of do it, and that's the gift. So I didn't know how to get an agent. I didn't know how to do Hollywood. I was just 17, 18 in LA, and I submitted my resume that I hand typed and a photo that I had someone take and submitted it to.
There were these devices called typewriters.
Yeah,
and they made a clicking,
typewriters.
clacking sound, and you had to hit them really, really hard.
Yeah, and so that was back in, I was there in 1980s, so at UCLA, 100 years ago. Anyway, so I sent it out, and I got a call from a casting director at my apartment that I was in, and I was still at school at UCLA. So anyway, once again, they called me in, and they said, oh, who's your agent? You know, they bring you in and they look at your photo and they look on the back, there's a resume, and she said, who's your agent? And I said, I don't have one. And they said, well, how did you get here? And I said, I submitted it. And so once again, this naivete, it wasn't there for me. I made it happen without even knowing that I had to, you know, which I just love about when you're young. You don't know the rules so much, so you kind of just do it, and opportunity meets you there. So I auditioned, and she brought me back for something else. And then my third year there, I got an agent and started to do it sort of that way. So that's the origin story. I just kind of always have done it. And
it's kind of a testament to what I often say. Nowadays, auditioning is very, very different. But when you used to go on in, now I always tell everybody, you're not auditioning for the role. You're auditioning to be invited to come back and audition again. You know, and that was what keeps you going. Then finally, you do something in one thing, and somebody say, bring in that guy that made that wacky voice 6 months ago for this.
yes,
you know,
they remember you for, yeah, absolutely, that's true.
That's absolutely. So before we get to the obvious stuff, you had an opportunity to work with Lucille Ball.
I did.
Yes,
I
did. On
did.
Stone Pillow. And
Yes.
those of you who don't know, it's a wonderful made-for-TV movie where she plays a reporter that befriends Lucille Ball, who is a bag lady in New York, and kind of travels with her, and she kind of shows her how she survives. You know, what dumpsters you can get food out of, and how you go to the bathroom and stuff like that. Huge departure for Lucille Ball's usual thing, and it really showed off her acting talents in that.
Yeah,
I thought
that was
and
her last thing.
Yeah.
That was, I think, in '84 or '5,
Yeah.
something like that. And she hadn't worked for 15 years, I remember, since she had done MAME. And I used to write fan letters to Lucille Ball when I was a kid. So my agent said, you know, you're up for this CBS TV movie with Lucille Ball. And I was like, what? Well, and then I went in, I auditioned, I got the part, and they're like, well, we're working on the deal. I said, don't work on the deal. Just take the part. I won't take any money. I literally called them and said, I don't need any money. Just get me this. Just because I thought they were going to wreck it, you know, by asking for too much or something, or making her angry or something. Anyway, they didn't do that. And there we were in the streets of New York City. She played a homeless woman, and it was incredible. And I so prided myself in wanting to be a professional actress that I never told her that I wrote her fan letters, ever, to this day. Then she died. But I knew that my days with her there on set, in between shooting, the stories she would tell me, and just, you know, hanging out with her, I knew were just so special. And I also did learn how to be more of a professional, because this woman, again, she was 76, I think, and we were shooting in Port Authority, and she had all these layers of clothes. You know, it was in the winter. The story took place in the winter, and she was homeless, so she had everything layered in things. And we were in Port Authority bus station, and
this was back when New York was still very, very ugly.
Very ugly and very hot. It was very hot in there, and we were doing a scene. It was rolling, and she fainted. And I thought, wow, she's a method actress. Well, first of all, I was just like, I said my line, and she just went down, and I was like, I don't remember this in the scene. I'm thinking like, Daphne, didn't you read it? And I say it again in character, and again, and there's no answer, and then finally I just go, George, I don't think she's supposed to do this, you know? And they said, cut. Everyone came over. They brought the ambulance. She comes to. They say, okay, that's it. That's the end of the day. We're not going to shoot anymore. We need to take care of Lucy. And she comes to, and she said, George, what are you doing? Why are you taking down the set? And they, because Lucy, you just fainted. And, you know, that's it. That's the end of the day. No, we have to get the rest of the scene. And she made everyone put the lights back up so we could shoot that scene, because she knew we hadn't got all the angles. And then we finished, because she was a producer. She knew that they would have lost a lot of money because, you know, time is money. So I said, are you sure, Lucy? She said, yeah, let's shoot it, honey. Let's go. So we finished it, and that was that. And we got everything. And I was just blown away. She also taught me how to power nap. 10-minute naps whenever you can. She'd just be out, you know, and then come back to, okay, let's go. She was a real pro, and it was a dream come true.
No, absolutely. And any chance I have a chance to talk about her, because remember, she was part of Desilu. Desilu produced Star Trek, and without Star Trek, we wouldn't have fan conventions like this. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. They produced Star Trek?
Yes, she
with
fought.
Desilu.
Desilu and Lucy specifically, she fought for Star Trek.
Really?
Yeah, because they did the one pilot and they shot it down. So she put her own money in the second pilot. She believed in the show. Yes, she is the mother of Star Trek, literally. She was
I
the
had
second.
no
Gene
idea.
Roddenberry with the dad, but she is the mother of Star Trek.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Without that, Star Trek, the fan panels, we wouldn't have evolved to an event like this today. So
yeah, she was great.
you go back in the timeline and take her out, the world would be different.
We wouldn't be here. You know, and she, obviously on the streets of New York, there were hundreds of fans around the makeup trailers and on the set. Just, you know, they had to have the yellow tape and security and everything. And she said, don't worry. She said, honey, just hold my hand and just remember, don't look them in the eye and don't stop moving. Because, you know, she wouldn't be able, they would stop her just out of their love. She goes, this is what you get for babysitting 3 generations. And I'm like, well, I know you babysat me. And so she just really got it. She understood it from all directions, you know. So.
No selfies back then. They would say, can we get a picture? And they'd take 5 minutes because she had, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, what an experience.
Yeah, it really, really was.
Absolutely. And the first of many. Well, what should we say? Should we talk a little bit about Melrose or talk about Spaceballs?
Spaceballs?
All right. Let's talk about just space. Where are the balls?
Yeah.
Again, you've spoken so much about it. I'll just throw this out there. If anybody else has questions, we'll do that way. But what was the best thing to come out of Spaceballs for you?
I would say, again, this was a few years later than Stone Pillow, what we just spoke about, but not that many years later. So there I was working with another comedy legend and a total professional. And, you know, Mel Brooks is such a pro. He's so smart. But he also is very professional about the comedy, about the kids, the fun. You know, he kept, first of all, I just want to say this. He came in under budget and it had a schedule, okay?
Unheard of.
Because if he were here, it's probably the first thing he'd say, because he produced everything. And so, which was amazing, because we would do 20 takes sometimes. I don't know how he came in on schedule, but I had a schedule and under budget. And he kept reminding us, this is for the kids. This is for the kids. Whenever you get lost or tired, just remember, this is supposed to be for the kids. It's silly, it's dumb, just have fun, you know. But he was very serious about it. So I just learned that you can do it both. You can be very professional, and you can also have the greatest of fun and bring your great joy and make sure that you're sharing that for the entertainment value. You know, you can do both. It's not either or. So I really loved working with him that way. I don't know, he was just fantastic. He also was open to, obviously with John Candy and Rick Moranis and all the, you know, Dick Van Patten, and open to their input comedically. And I'm just there the whole time as the sourpuss princess, trying to think, what can I come up with? What can I come up with? And I would, you know, try to come up with stuff. But he would always, yes, listen, none of their jokes work without you as the straight man. Like, just believe me. You know, you are a very important part of the comedy. And I was like, okay, yeah. But I did come up with the iconic moment with the hair. When they shot my hair, I go, because the script said she gets back in their Winnebago because she's just scared of guns. She's scared of guns. And I'm like, I'm not getting back in the damn Winnebago when all the fun's out here. So I'm thinking in my head, I go, what about this? What about, she's like, ew, I hate guns. And then what about if one of them hits my hair? Because we made such a big deal about her hair. And he's like, I like that. That's great, my princess, that's great. We're gonna try it. And they did. They set up a whole squib for my hair to be shot, and then we do the thing with the gun, and son of a bitch. So that's my moment, and he let it in.
That is that character's moment.
That is. And that is really a tribute to Mel, who's a freaking genius, doesn't need, you know, me throwing him ideas, but when it works, and he knew that. So I really love him for that.
And I've heard that from others too. He's just like, he's absolutely open to throwing something up to it, and but he
knows if it works.
No, yeah, exactly. He'll like, yeah, let's try that, you know. And then sometimes he's very gentle with his notes too. Okay, guys, let's try that again, but this time let's be funny.
Yeah, right. Let's go back to the way it's written, okay? So,
was Joan already cast in that role, or did that come like after our principal and everything else? And or if so, was she ever actually on the set?
no,
at any
she
point?
never came
It
to
was
set.
all
I never
ADR.
met Joan. I mean, she may have come to set. I never met her until we did the cartoon many, many years later, actually, because we all were there with Mel doing the voiceovers. Couple voiceover actors did, you know, John Candy, obviously, and Bill Pullman, I believe. But Joan was there, sat right next to her, and she was lovely. She smelled beautiful. I go, you smell so good. She goes, QVC, darling, it's the Joan scent. And I'm like, well, it's really nice. She goes, these jewelry, too. You could get this, too. You know, she was great. Yeah.
Well, again, Spaceballs is, and you're interesting too that you bring that up about he says this for the kids, because I do think that was as close as Mel ever came to an all ages movie. So before, you know, it's like, you know, Blazing Saddles is not for little ears.
Yeah.
And even Young Frankenstein, it's for adults because there's a lot of heavy stuff going on. The kids can watch it, but they can't appreciate it. But yeah, Spaceballs was definitely the one that there was a whole mixed audience when I saw it.
Yeah.
Just everybody was rip-roaring.
Yeah,
so.
I think so. I mean, what I love about Spaceballs is that I get the parents and the kids coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just both, and they all watch it together. A family can watch it together. I love that.
And you really, it helps. You really don't need to see Star Wars or Star Trek or be familiar with it. It does stand on its own. And I have encountered some people that aren't familiar with those, and then, oh yeah, it's very amusing. Oh, is it satire? So, yeah, I'd retro explain to them, well, there's a thing called Star Wars. I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
well, I've met people here today that said they saw Spaceballs first, and, you know, Star Wars, okay, but, you know, Star Wars was a ripoff of Spaceballs, they say. And I'm like, you got it.
Yeah, one of my great eternal wishes is that I do wish that things could have come in place to do the full sequel, especially the early plans, which was going to be Spaceballs 3, The Search for Part 2.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought that title alone, that is just so perfect, because Spaceballs 2, The Quest Search for More Money. It's just like, yeah, just the dominoes were there.
Yeah, it was, they were actually seriously talking about it. I know that Mel mentioned it.
Again?
No, this was back a few years ago. Now I don't think it's going to happen. But he mentioned it at an interview, I heard, and then I ran into his writing partner, Thomas Meehan, who created Annie, and we ran into each other, and we had dinner a few times, and he came to visit me in LA, and he said it was they were really setting it up at MGM, and they were just working on some fine details, which meant money. And then Thomas Meehan died. Unfortunately, he was such a sweet man, but he wrote that with Mel, so I was like, oh, I don't think it's going to happen now. And as much energy as Mel has in his 90s, I just don't think it's going to happen.
We are happy with what we got.
We'll always have the original.
Always be glad for always be glad for what we got to. And I even thought the animated series was good. You know, I know some people are saying, yeah, well, yeah, at least we got something. Yeah. You know, at least we got something as a way too. And Spaceballs is locked in place is a great cultural moment, along with another project you've been involved with, Melrose Place. That's what fans of that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Yes. That's the way too. What was the best memory you took out of Melrose?
You know, I overall really liked Melrose because it was, you know, I had been doing movies, so that Spaceballs was in the 80s. That's when I did the movies. And then I started Melrose Place in 92, so about, 8 years later. And what I loved about Melrose Place is that I got to go to work and act every day. And back then, in the 80s and 90s, actors weren't doing both. You either did movies or you did TV. So it was kind of like a big deal, a big decision for me, for my agents, to go and do TV, because that was like a different career path back then. Now everyone does everything, streaming and movies and, limited series and everything. But it was no decision for me, because I got to act every day. And when you do movies, there's usually time in between, downtime. And I didn't have a family. I'd never wanted to have kids. And, I just loved what I did. So the fact that that opportunity came to me, I was like, yeah, I love doing it. So I did it for 4 years, and I love that it was a family feeling for that long. Usually you do movies, you get so close, and a couple months later, it's done, and it's, okay, on to the next one. Then I get a family feeling again. And these days even, that's back when it used to be a month. Now you get these done in less than a month. And I've done a movie in 2.5 weeks, and it's just grueling, and it's not the same anymore. So to do a series was fantastic. It's a real family feeling. You get to do it every day. It gives you some security. It was really, really great. And I'm still friends to this day with the original people that did it. I did it with.
And there may be some Melrose-related stuff in the future, possibly, maybe, perhaps?
Yeah, it came out in the press that we were pitching a reboot, and which is true, we are, and nothing's officially announced yet, but so knock wood, but if everything goes well, we're hoping to make that happen.
Stay tuned.
We would love that.
Let me ask this, then I'll throw it out. I'll take some questions. What was the craziest moment you had on any set?
Craziest moment?
Craziest moment. Anything you've done?
Well, I was in a Roger Corman, who just passed, a Roger Corman movie in the 90, in Peru, and a monsoon came and tore our entire set and ship and everything apart, and we're out in the jungle in the Amazon. That was pretty crazy. You think I'd be like an old pro with this little warning we had last night that wasn't even here, because I lived through a monsoon in the Amazon. It just ripped everything apart, and I don't know, it was crazy. You always have adventures on these on location. Then there's opposite kind of crazy and just sort of disbelief when you're with John Candy out in the desert. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all crazy, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think
he couldn't have been having a good time in that costume and that makeup in the desert.
Oh my God, talk about a pro. That guy with that costume and it melting and the tail not working right, and then still having to be funny. Talk about a pro. Yeah, he was great.
Well, on behalf of myself and this audience, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your talents and your professionalism and the performances you brought to all of your roles. It's been an absolute delight. You've a fantastic body of work, and you've entertained people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Going out. Like I said, we'll just take some hands, and whoever asks the first question will get 2 pieces of candy. So, all right, this young lady. Hi, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Tiffany. Hello.
Hi.
I love it. You're so enjoyable. I was going to ask about John Candy. Do you have any memories specifically of John Candy, or a story that jumps into your head right away about him?
Well, once again, what a pro, right? So he advised, Bill Pullman and I, we were very, young and starting out. So he was just giving us advice, and he, would just kind of took us under his wing and said, if you have any issues or you need anything, you just ask me and I'll make sure it happens. Don't worry. He said, also sign your own checks. And also at the end of Spaceballs, he gave everybody, including the crew, which was 200 people, custom-made dog bone, gold, on, not real gold, on a plaque, and it said, "Love John." Barf. And I've never been on a set where one of the actors gave that to every single person, and I was really impressed. And after that, I did The Fly 2 that Mel Brooks produced, And I did that. I did little gifts and like wrote letters to all the whole crew because of John, because I was like, the crew works their butts off and they don't get the glory, and some of them are working for less and they work so hard, and I just thought that was so cool. That's it, John. Thank you.
All right. Who's got another one? All right. Hi, what's your name?
Jessica. And along the same lines, working with Rick Moranis on Spaceballs, what was your favorite memory from that?
Well, whenever you say, like, so with Rick, I remember there was a scene where they were going to give me back my old nose. And we were in this, right, had me there, and Rick was there, and Scroob, so Mel was there, and they were just coming up with more comedic bits. And it was fantastic just to watch them go at it. Like, so they had a script, but that wasn't good enough for them, and they wanted to I think they just enjoy playing. And he was from Second City, which is improvisation. So they were coming up with stuff, and he was pitching ideas to Mel. And before you know it, they're talking about, they were going to change the set, and just, because every little bit is just an idea, but then you got to make it happen, and it involves time and stuff. And then at the end of it, they were talking about golfing, the doctor, and all these jokes. And I was just like, how do they come up with this stuff? And that was Rick and that. And at the very end, they both said, you know what? That was fun. Like an hour later, that was fun. Let's bag it. Let's stick with what we have. It's better. It's better. Because they know they know what works and what doesn't. But I was just there like, just watching the magic happen in the room. And that was Rick. Just always game, always has ideas, always having ideas. And you get a candy.
That's right. Who's got it? Okay. Hi, what's your name?
Vicky. I want to know, what was the funniest moment on Melrose Place, or like a blooper or something that just went hysterically?
I don't know if it was a blooper. I mean, there was so much drama. I mean, especially my character, Joe. I was in so much drama with the kidnapping and the stealing of the baby and getting, thrown on the boat and all this stuff. So in between, we had to like laugh it up and lighten things up for sure. I do know we just recently had a wonderful entertainment news anchor pass, Sam Rubin. He was just wonderful. He came on the set to do like an interview with myself and Grant, who played Jake. And we're standing by the pool. And I guess we had to lighten things up for ourselves, so we pushed him in the pool with his mic on and everything, and he was such a pro, Sam. He comes out and he's like this, and then Grant's like pulling down his underwear, and I'm just like, please, I'm surrounded by children. Sorry, Sam. But they just showed it on the reels on the Channel 5 News of memoriam for him. They showed that because it was just silly, we just had to be silly. That was like a crazy moment at the expense of a serious news guy. But yeah, it was, we had fun. Like I said, we're still friends, and we're all gonna, if this thing does work, hopefully, we'll all be on it. Yeah.
Fun question. Thank you. Don't worry, I gave her the candy. Okay.
Okay.
We got time for one or two more. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Jen. Hi, Daphne.
Hi, Jen.
My favorite movie of yours is Gross Anatomy, because I have a
Oh.
medical background. So is there anything kind of gross that happened on set?
Gross Anatomy, wow. Well, I just remember me nearly fainting when we did some research for it. So we went to a real gross anatomy class at USC Medical School. And we walk in and they're all like all these cadavers on tables, like dead people. And I'm like, because I'm used to the movies, right? We have fake stuff. It's all fake, and it's our job to pretend it's real. And the smell was overwhelming. And these medical students are just like, oh yeah, this is Bertha. We named her Bertha, and here's her liver. And I'm like, and I just almost passed out, and I had to leave. And I went out into the stairs and just sat there while I got my equilibrium, I said, I think I'll fake the rest of it. Thank you very much. And I have a lot of respect for you guys, but I'm going to go back to my world where we act it. But I really I really loved doing Gross Anatomy too, and working with Matthew Modine, who I had just worked with him on Vision Quest. We did Vision Quest first, another film, and then we did this one together, and I loved him and his wife, Carrie. It was a lot of fun.
What kind of medicine are you in?
Well, I do coding, and so I code RER, so I see and read about a lot of interesting things.
I'm nodding my head like I understand that, but I'm like, I'll take your word for it. It's important. All right. Hey, round of applause for a medical professional. Helping people, all that stuff. We got time for one or two more, so anybody back here want to throw something out? Anybody up front want to throw something out? All right. All right. Bring us up. What's your name?
Heather. All right, which character that you've played did you have the most challenge with, or that basically your most interesting one? It sounds like Spaceballs was fun, so I'll go with most interesting.
That was the most enjoyable. The challenge there was hoping that I could fit into the kind of big comedy that was Mel Brooks and that was Rick Moranis and John Candy. Hoping that I could fit into all that. That was the challenge. I did play a movie that no one saw. I think it was in the late 90s. And it was called Stand-Ins, and she was a morphine addict. It took place in 1938, and it was all these women that played the stand-ins for these movie stars. Katherine Hagel was in it. She played, I think, Rita Hayworth's stand-in. I played Greta Garbo's stand-in, so of course I had to go and do the research on that, and I watched all of her movies, and but I had to figure out, she was my character, it was actually kind of a sad but humorous movie of all of us hanging out in the Formosa bar in Hollywood was a famous hangout back in the day in the 30s and 40s. So all these women would sit this bar and bitch at each other because their star was better than the other one. So we had a Betty Davis stand-in played by Jordan Ladd. I was Greta Garbo stand-in. We had a Katharine Hepburn stand-in. And it was just like, yeah, well, we got a, nomination. Yeah, but you lost to mine, and so, and then my character, Shirley, goes off in the bathroom and she's a morphine addict. And so I had to, I talked to a gentleman. I did not do method research there, FYI. But I did talk to someone who was a counselor, and he, I had to learn about that whole thing and how that would feel. Anyway, I like challenges like that, I just love the different challenges, whether they're big or small, when you play different parts. That's kind of what I love about acting. I had to learn to ride a horse, it's like how to shoot a gun, how to, I just love it. Learning using different parts of yourself is always a challenge.
Absolutely. Anything on the horizon or the docket you're allowed to share with us?
Well, I've already let that maybe reboot come out, and then we are going to do a rewatch. But you guys can't tell anyone. I wasn't supposed to say anything. I just realized I'm so bad at it. All right, don't tell anyone. But July 8th, that's coming up. We're going to do a rewatch for Melrose Place. So Courtney Thorne-Smith, who played Allison, myself, and Laura Layton, who played Crazy Sydney. The three of us are doing rewatch, and we're going to bring the other actors on as guests, and we're going to watch each episode every week and go through it with you guys and tell you behind-the-scenes stories and have lots of fun on that. So that's coming out July 8th.
And remember, it's secret.
Yeah,
it's
but
secret.
quiet, don't tell anyone.
Okay,
All right.
Tell all your Melrose fans.
We're going to find you and come and get you,
But you can tell all your Melrose fan friends, I know something you don't know.
Yeah.
I know something you don't know. So too. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us. It's just been an absolutely wonderful time. Please come back and see us. GalaxyCon 2024. This was Daphnie Zuniga.
Thank you,
and
guys.
that was our time.